live on playback. That's it. All right, guys.
All right. Let's go.
Presented by Prize Picks. $100 match on your first deposit with the promo code Lightyears. Welcome to Lightyears. If you are watching on YouTube, by the way, go ahead and click that subscribe button. Become a member of Lightyears. Andy, that was a fun game we watched. A little OKC, Dallas. We're gonna get into Warriors stuff. We're gonna get into everything. But we're recording this right after the game. Feel
Great
like
game.
It's
great game.
You got to start on that right there. Shout out the Thunder for for 3/4 of the game. I thought that was Dallas's game the whole way.
Yeah. We were texting about how I felt like experience matters in the playoffs. I think people don't talk about it enough when they're making picks, but turns out the Mavericks aren't as tough as the Thunder. I think that was really what the win was about. Thought the Thunder were way tougher. And I don't think you ever know about these things until you see them in that environment, especially younger guys. I think especially SGA is probably the one where it's like we've just never seen him in that environment. But man, He's tough. And then Chet was a beast for a guy that's kind of just out there getting hit left and right by Lively and Gafford. I don't know, Samuel. It just maybe Dallas has a better roster construction. Maybe they have the best player, but OKC's tougher. They've got way more dog in them than I think Dallas does. And that's why they won that game tonight.
I think if you were to ask me, I'd say I like more players on OKC than I like on Dallas for that exact reason. Like Cassano Wallace is a rookie. Not hard to see him being a winning playoff player for an extended period of time. Extended period of time. Jalen Williams, star ascending, absolute playoff player. Lou Dort, definitely a playoff player. Yeah. Josh Giddey, maybe not a playoff player, but you know what? Out of the rotation. Our guy, Arkansas Jalen, also good. I don't know.
A lot of grit.
Yeah, I feel like they play the way the Warriors wanted to play this year, or the way the Warriors marketed themselves as, like, hey, we're undersized, but we'll play tougher. We're more skilled than you. We can do a lot of little things. And turns out when, everything's banking on dudes who are like 50 years old, and your wings aren't as doggish as some of these other guys. You can't be it. But I don't know. I'm a small ball proponent in my core. Like I'm always going to be kind of a small ball guy. Just Don Nelson, Warriors, always been my thing. OKC does it the way I like to see it, which is like, yeah, we're a little smaller than you, but we're quicker and we're more aggressive than you the entire way through. It's just the opposite of the Warriors this year. The Warriors are smaller than you, but outside of like pods and like obviously Steph and Draymond to who they are, like it's not like there was like more dog than other teams. They're just small.
I was gonna say they're literally just smaller, like just a smaller team, which is if you're a smaller team, you at least want to be long, you at least want to be quick, you at least want to be strong, right? All those things, which is where the OKC threw out Cason Wallace today, tonight, and I don't know, like he was good in the regular season, but all of a sudden as a rookie, he can just play in the playoffs against Luka, against Kyrie, like that's. Speaks a lot, I think, to him, and obviously speaks a lot to Sam Presti, who apparently I don't think Sam Presti has ever made a bad draft pick. Can you imagine who would Sam Presti have drafted if he was in the Warriors front office these last 5 years? But but it's still 2-2. I don't know. It feels like this series has been the underrated series because all we talk about is Minnesota and Denver, which we will.
For good reason.
But it's still a great – every game has been close. Every game has been great. The only complaint I have is,
Luka grabbing his knee.
Luka, you're not hurt. Like, you're not that hurt. I mean, he's dying every possession, but he's fine. And then SGA, what's funny about SGA is like he flops a lot, but he doesn't actually, you don't actually see him whining to the refs a lot, which is interesting. That I guess that's Luka's thing. But aesthetically, I mean, Luka's step back game, all that dribble stuff is really cool. SGA's got a little bit more of like an old school pull up, slower type of style, but. I don't know, both guys are great to watch, but that's probably why they're not as like none of them is Ant, right? None of them is doing like a double pump dunk through the lane, but it's still entertaining. It's 2-2. I actually have no idea who's going to win this series. I actually don't. I think you think Dallas is better, right? But I don't know.
I picked Dallas before the season or before the series started to go to the Western Conference Finals. My Western Conference Finals was Dallas Denver.
Whew.
I don't want to say I'm deviating. I do think I would not be surprised if OKC did, but ultimately I'm still going to think Dallas can win. I'll stick with my original pick. But yeah, it's been enjoyable the entire way. I've been enjoying the playoffs with the Warriors not in it, while also kind of being annoyed. Because here's why I'm annoyed, Andy. How many games did Dallas win this year?
52. Wow, I have no idea.
Nope. Stick with your original one. 5-0.
Oh,
They won 4 more games than the Warriors. They were the 8th seed when they when they swung the trade for Gafford and PJ Washington. Now, do the Warriors get 50 wins instead of 46 wins with Gafford and PJ Washington? I don't know. Probably not, honestly, But I think they get a couple more wins. They're not the 10 seed. They're probably in the playoffs. Everything looks a little different that way. And it's not even those individual trades. It's 2 years we've watched this team sitting kind of right there and not making a move. And it's kind of frustrating because I think the thing I push back against more than anything is that the Warriors are far away. This is a pretty, I don't call it a mid NBA, but like it's easier to get from 46 wins to 52 wins than it is if you're a 46 win team during the heyday of the Dynasty Warriors and the best version of the Cavs and the Houston Rockets, where you're like, dude, Daniel Gafford's not getting us in the competition versus those guys.
I might push back and say Daniel Gafford and PJ Washington probably puts the Warriors. I mean, I wouldn't say, I don't know about over the top, but like, I don't know, the Warriors might still be playing right now. I don't know if you can convince
Puts
me
them in the mix,
but that they won't be playing right now. Now, if you were to tell me, like, does this help them win a championship? And maybe that's what Joe Lacob would approve to make that trade. Then, yeah, they're not winning a championship probably with those guys. But Sam, how are they not still playing right now if they have those guys? I mean, just Kevon Looney's unplayable. They have no center. TJD's fine, good, but Daniel Gafford's twice as good as him right now in the world. And then PJ Washington. Can we compare PJ Washington right now to what Andrew Wiggins was giving him, what Klay Thompson was giving him, to what Kuminga was giving him? Like, any of those guys, go down the freaking list. And like, he isn't a great player, but he's average to right now playing above average basketball. So I don't think it's that hard. I don't think it's that hard to say. I would actually disagree with you, only to say, like, man, if the Warriors make those moves, but those aren't moves that the Warriors ever make, right?
No, that's the whole frustration around it, where there's this overwhelming conversation about how it's over and Dynasty's dead, and got to rebuild, can't make any of these moves. And I'm watching the NBA right now, and I'm like, dude, don't get me wrong. The Warriors could not beat any of these teams as presently constructed, but they are a player away. They're a couple tweaks away from being in this conversation. They're an impact player away from potentially being in the Wolves Nuggets conversation. And maybe I'm wrong. Maybe one impact player still doesn't put them over the top, but you're still pretty close. And I think when you get this close, you just have to go for it instead of being like, it's not perfect, not going to win 73 games. What's the point? We might as well just tear it all down. It's over. That's kind of the part where I'm like, it's kind of where the NBA is right now. It's a bunch of teams around 50 wins, and like, are you going to be in the good 50 win pushing, or are you going to be in the bad 50 win being like, we're just going to sit around and wait for players who may or may never develop?
Yeah, you're sitting there, you're waiting for Giannis. Meanwhile, there are multiple players that are like 2 tiers down that'll probably help you win. I mean, look at Minnesota and Denver. Denver's supposed to be this unstoppable force. They lost 2 games at home. to Minnesota. All of a sudden, you watch Minnesota and they don't look like a team that's ready to win any games. Like they're probably losing the next 2 games. I don't know. Wouldn't surprise any of us if they
Yeah.
do, but also wouldn't surprise us if they won 2 of the next 3. And somehow Minnesota's in the Western Conference Finals, and all of a sudden they're playing Dallas. I don't know who you picking in that series. Or Minnesota plays OKC. Would you be surprised if OKC won that? All of a sudden OKC's in the NBA. Like that's the kind of stuff where it's like, if you kind of just hypothetically say, you know, those guys aren't good enough to get you there, you're never going to have a chance to get there. Obviously, if the Warriors get Giannis, you're going to get there, but
It's making good the enemy of great. It's like, okay, not the perfect move. So we're just going to stand pat. And, that's what they did. That's what they did at the All-Star break. It's fine. Well, let's see what happens going into this. It is still May 13th. Maybe they wow us going to this, but like it's frustrating watching these games to a degree and being like, all right, I just need to see something.
Yeah.
I need to see something going into next year, because if your big moves next year are re-signing Clay, cutting payroll, and banking on internal development, maybe you trade Wiggins or something on the margins, I'm gonna lose my mind, because like it's come on, man. I just want to see a couple proactive pushes, because I do think Steph is still at that level. And nothing I've seen this playoffs makes me think he's not this level. I'm seeing like Jalen Brunson mania in New York. I'm seeing Tyrese Halliburton honestly play awful half the games and solid the other half. Luka is grabbing his knee anytime anyone hits a shot on them. Ant is ascending. Ant is officially on my list of guys I think could be a number one on a contender. I was not willing to say that before the playoffs. I'm willing to say
agree.
that now.
Agree with that.
But I'm like watching all this. I'm like, come on, man. You're telling me you get a couple guys who are not like 50 or like mentally dejected around Steph, and they're not right in this mix, So
it's been a good playoff. I think it's been a good postseason, but it's not giving me the feel that the Warriors have an impossible road back to contention. They need work, but all right, we'll get to some more fun stuff after this. But before that, the Light Years podcast is brought to you by Prize Picks. Prize Picks is America's #1 fantasy sports app with more than 5 million members. It is the most fun and exciting way to get in on the action while you watch your favorite sports and players. You just pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 100x your cash. Testing my skills on Prize Picks this playoff basketball season is the most simple way to get in on the action. You just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on your projected stats, and submit your lineup. Quick withdrawals, easy gameplay, and an enormous selection of players and stat types are what makes Prize Picks the #1 fantasy sports app. Playoff time is your time to join the Prize Picks community of over 5 million members who have already downloaded the app. Prize Picks available in more than 30 states across the country, including California, Texas, and Georgia. Ooh, this playoff season, the star players mean more in Prize Picks, so keep an eye out for star players on the board, and you could receive a 10% payout bonus if they are in your winning lineup. Download the app today. Use code LIGHTYEARS for a first deposit match up to $100. Download the app today. Use code LIGHTYEARS for a first deposit match up to $100. Pick more, pick less. It is that easy. And the Light Years podcast, we are brought to you by Game Time. Game Time, we're back. Game Time is an authorized ticket marketplace of the NBA, which means getting playoff tickets even faster and easier. Prices on the Game Time app actually go down the closer it gets to tip off, with killer last minute deals, all-in prices, views from your seat, and their lowest price guaranteed. Game Time takes the guesswork out of buying tickets. Priority last minute deals, save up to 60% off buying last minute for sports, concerts, comedy, theater, etc. Flash deals save even more with exclusive in-app deals on select seats ahead of the game or the event. So it's pretty easy. All right, use promo code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off your first purchase. Take the guesswork out of buying NBA tickets with Game Time. Download the Game Time app, create an account, use code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms apply. Again, Crane account, redeem code LIGHTYEARS for $20 off. Download Game Time today. Last minute tickets, lowest price, guaranteed.
By the way, California Classic coming to Chase Center, basically again for free with Game Time. Use the promo code, guys. Light years, $20 off. Good time. Make sure you're there.
Oh, California Classic.
Yeah, it's sneaking up on you. Yeah, you still got a couple weeks.
Looking
You see
at it
Warriors
right
second
now.
round. See Guy Santos. I
Oh,
want to watch
man,
Guy
great
Santos.
call.
I want to watch Guy Santos beat some dudes. I like Guy. I'm not sure he's a player. He needs to hit
I like
shots.
him.
He needs to hit shots, but if he could just like stick 35% of his corner threes, he's a player. Because he does everything else. Like he knows who he is. He's a rebounder. He's gonna defend and get on the glass. It just hit some shots.
But Jemski isn't going to play, right? No way.
No, he said he's gonna play. I mean, he also just talks, and then the organization's like, you're not the coach, but
I'd be cool to see him play. I mean, he's going to dominate. It'd be fun to see him play. I
want to see him dominate because he we've seen him be a good role player in the NBA. I need to see him have that, like, you guys are bums. I'm dropping 30 and 3/4, and then I'm gonna go to what's the spot you used to always love to go to? I'm going to.
Oh, by the way, closing down. shout out to Temple. Closing down. Our guys, yeah. RIP to SF nightlife, or club scene, I should say. Anyway, I maybe the Warriors get a second round pick in there somewhere.
They do have a second round pick. They will draft someone. I feel like Dunleavy has shown he can find second round guys who can be role players. So there's a decent chance there, and that is a great segue to the Warriors. Will not have their first round pick this year. Okay, so everyone knows they traded this pick to get D'Lo. D'Lo was then used to get Wiggins and the 2021 pick, which was Kuminga. I think everyone would do that trade over again. You ended up turning KD leaving into Wiggins, who ultimately played a key role in the title, and Kuminga. And you have to give up this pick, which will be somewhere like 11 or 14 in this draft. And the funniest part is, if there's a draft I don't want them to have a pick in, it's this one, man.
Is that the spin? Is that the spin that you're going with? Because I got a different spin for you, but talk to me. How bad is the draft?
The number one pick is a theoretical big man who's 7'1" with a long wingspan, but plays 17 minutes per game in Perth, Australia.
I got a question for you.
Yeah.
Is he? I don't know who this guy is. No idea who he is. Is he better?
Sar.
Yeah, Sar. That's a good name. Is he better?
Looks apart
than James Wiseman was as a prospect.
I don't know. I think it's the same idea. I think they're both kind of like mystery box players. Like, you know what I'm saying? Like, where you like, on paper, you're like, oh, we got the next Anthony Davis. But then you watch a game and you're like, I see the potential, but there's some work to be done before this ends up in the NBA. That sort of thing. Like he's
wow.
Yeah. He's not Wembanyama. He's not Chet. Like, those guys were dominant.
I mean, he's not even Evan Mobley.
Yeah, those guys were all dominant at the lower level before they got to the next level. This guy doesn't start. This guy's not like, I know you're not watching French League games, but Wembanyama was playing 30 plus minutes a game, averaging 20 plus points. He was clearly too good for the level he was at, which makes sense. You see him, he's a freak, right? Like, that sort of thing, right?
So
these guys are like, could be special or could not, like, which is like, I know exactly how it's going to go with the Warriors. I know exactly how it's going to go. Steve Kerr's not going to play him. And it's going to just be this rodeo of, we can't trade him because Steve won't play him and other teams won't give us a superstar for him. but they have so much talent, so we can't give up on them. And it's over. Like, I'm just grateful we don't have to go through that rodeo again.
Yeah. I'm grateful. That's why actually I'm happy. I couldn't care less. You could have told me this was the greatest draft of all time. Nobody actually knows. I'm just happy the Warriors don't have a pick. That's my thing, is because I just don't want them to do what you just said. Either draft a guy that they don't know how to develop, or pretend to act like they're going to trade a guy and then not
And then
actually
get
trade the
butthurt
guy.
that other people are also like, yeah, we're not sure he's good either. So we're not going to give you Giannis.
Yep.
You know?
Yep.
Because that's like really what it came down to. In 2020, they did shop that pick. They were just mad. They were mad that they weren't getting Giannis for him. They were mad that they weren't going to get like a star caliber player for the number 2 pick. They're getting a bunch of, oh, we'll give you
Wendell Carter.
yeah, exactly. Yeah, that's sort of exactly. That's that sort of thing. So miss me on that rodeo. The only thing, like, I push back on you on this thing. If it was a draft where there was a clear dude and they're the top 2, then like that's cool. But that wasn't this draft.
Yeah, I also at this point, I don't know if
Okay, but like, how would it go if they had like Chet? Do you really think Chet would be a problem on the Warriors?
what pick was Chet? Second pick? 2.
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, the chances the Warriors were gonna get. I mean, it was the 4th pick or whatever. Obviously, if it's a slam dunk pick, it's a slam dunk pick. I'm happy that it's just, hey, like, they don't have to worry about the draft. Their pick is 55 or something like
52.
that. Yeah, 52. Yeah. So
Joey's probably going to throw some money, get them up to 41.
why don't they worry about what trade guys that they can go add? Why don't they worry about what trade package they can put Kuminga and Moses Moody in to get him a player? Now, so if it's Alex Sarr, that's the one guy. Like, there's got to be a couple other names up there. I just saw it today. This guy named Reed Shepard has a 45-inch vertical. What are we talking about here? Is he not good? What do you? That's a crazy vertical.
6'1", 42 vert. Pod's a 6'4" with a 40-inch vert.
God, he's my height. Oh man, is he shooting guard? Is he shoot? He could shoot. I imagine he could shoot.
He definitely could shoot the ball, but
6'1"
but he averaged 14 points per game in college. I mean, it's like he could be good. I'm just saying, like, these are all guys. I mean, this
shooting guard or point guard?
Combo guard.
Oh, that's not good. Yeah, that's not good.
You better have. He might be a point guard, but I think he's more of a connector. But like my whole thing with this draft is they're all dudes who should go 5 to 10 picks later in a normal draft. Yeah, you know what I'm saying? Like, I'm not convinced Reed Shepard's better than Podziemski. Podziemski went 19. If Podziemski ends up never getting better than what he is, it is what it is. That's fine for a 19 pick. If you draft a guy with that skill set at number 2, you get very mad. You get very disappointed. You get very, like, you're sitting there and you're just like, it's a lot of Look, we just went through it with Wiseman, man. Like, the expectations of a guy at the top of the draft suck. And they better, like, Chet is excellent. Paulo is obviously the part. Like, you have to dominate out of the block to a degree, or you have to show people that you can play. And if we're talking about guys who I think are comparable to, like, Podziemski or Corey Joseph,
yeah,
and you're talking about them as like the 3rd overall pick, like, everyone's gonna be disappointed with that.
So it's unfair to the players, actually, because it's
not a situation you want to be in.
Yeah, it's I mean, Pod's had a great rookie season, but yeah, obviously, if he's your number 2 overall pick, you as a team, you're sitting there, you're kind of like, oh, but wow. I mean, good for the Warriors that this is the although it's funny, it'll be interesting to see what the 14th pick looks like 5 years from now, because Tyrese Halliburton in that trade ends up going late and he ends up amazing. It'll be the Warriors' luck if that 14th pick there ends up being some good. So that'll be
in that like the deal though. It's like, no pressure. obviously they can all play, and someone's going to be a late bloomer. Someone's going to be the dude who I understand why you went 12th overall. Like you don't look like you have the athleticism or the skill to play at this level, and then like a couple summers go by, and all of a sudden, oh shit, he could shoot it like that now. Like that's always how it goes, right? Or like they go through a late growth spurt or something like that. It's just like the worst situation. We have one of these things, and none of them are obvious slam dunks, and you have like the number 2 pick, and you're selling the fan base on like, this is our new guy. He averaged 7 points per game in Australia, guys. He's going to save the franchise. Also, it's worth noting, since they've conveyed the pick, they can now trade their future picks. If they did not convey, if they did not convey the pick, it throws a wrench into what they could do with future picks. So while you don't want to give up a pick in the early teens, which is what they're going to do, it does like quote unquote set you even. So you don't have to deal with like, well, we can't trade this, we can't do that.
Yes, sir. This is what I'm talking about. This is the shit I like to hear, Samuel. This is what I'm talking about. Go settle up your bets. You lost. Okay. You lost. You bet the under again. And I mean, you lost. Go pay up. Now you get a fresh batch of picks that you can theoretically use, but that they probably won't. I can't wait.
So many fake trades they won't do.
There's so many. I cannot wait. What do we got? What's up? Who's up?
I mean, we'll see. Right now, the talk of the town's our guy Brandon Ingram. It's have you seen this? Like, I think we all knew he was going to get traded, but given how disgusting their playoff exit was, and you saw what's his name, David Griffin's post game.
Yes.
He's not even lying about it. He's like, well, how many times do you want me to run it back?
Yes, actually good. While you pull that out, while you bring up Brandon Ingram. Oh, yes, perfect. Let's get to it right now.
No, do the read. It's okay.
Okay. We'll get to Brandon Ingram month on Light Years. Brandon Ingram month. We're gonna spend the entire May on Brandon Ingram, my guy, your guy. Before we get to that, Light Years podcast, we're brought to you by Unified. Whether you're a world-class athlete or podcaster like me, we all understand the importance of mental and physical well-being and proper recovery for top-notch performance. Unified Healing is a new and super innovative global network of wellness centers powered by Energy Enhancement System, or EE system. If you haven't heard of the EE system yet, you'll want to listen up. This technology promotes wellness, deep relaxation, purification, and rejuvenation. Whether you're here in the Bay or hundreds of other locations across the globe, access to a center is easy and affordable. Interested in experiencing the EE system technology for yourself? Go to unifiedhealing.com/lightyears to learn more and find a center near you. That's unifydhealing.com/lightyears. No material or testimonials on the Unified Healing website are intended to be viewed as a medical advice or a substitute for professional medical advice, diagnosis, or treatment. Always seek the advice of your physician or other qualified healthcare provider with any questions you may have regarding a medical condition or treatment and before undertaking a new healthcare regimen, including the EE system.
I mean, is Ingram the best the Warriors can do right now?
Yes.
How would you feel about Ingram on the team? Like, we've talked about him many times. I'm not trying to be a dick about it. It's just everyone else is a theoretical target until we hear better. Ingram, they're just like, he's gone. Fucking take him off our hands, which makes me think no matter how much gets leaked, he can get traded for less than you expect.
Yeah.
Which is the Lakeum zone.
Also, I don't. While we pull up Mark Stein's quote here, the handful of Eastern Conference teams that are mentioned as potential trade suitors for Ingram: Philly, Cleveland, Atlanta, Orlando. I don't see a Warriors mentioned, and now part of it is.
Well, I also don't buy.
Yeah,
I don't buy half. Like Atlanta, why? Orlando, why? What does he
Why would
do that
Orlando want Brandon Ingram? That's an interesting one. I mean, do you need a third ball handler that can't really handle the ball?
they want a starting five of dudes who want to dribble into the mid range, right?
Yeah.
So
What are we doing?
um, Cleveland maybe, Philly can't count Morey out. Morey gets his name into everything. I get Morey.
Well, Brandon Ingram is a Tobias Harris type, so it would make sense that they could add another Tobias Harris. One of the greatest tweets I've ever seen is the Tobias Harris zone for players. Um, uh, my my I would be interested to know to understand the next few months. Like, I wonder where Brandon Ingram lies for the Warriors in terms of their priority list. I wonder. It's obviously not going to be at the top. Obviously, I have other guys at the top, but I'd be curious to know, like, what does, like, for Mike Dunleavy, does he, like, is he a guy that's like, okay, like, I'm zeroing in on Brandon Ingram,
Duke
like, that's
guy,
the guy
two
we
Duke
go.
guys.
Oh God, Brandon Ingram was a Duke guy, huh? It doesn't seem like a Duke guy, but, like, is that a guy who, or is it kind of like
The
a
semester in college. I don't really associate him with college guy.
Kyrie's
So
a Duke guy? And it's like
yeah, exactly.
it's like one. Well, you're right. Like one quarter, maybe. Did they even take a course? Did they ever go on
Just
campus and take a test?
just got to get through that first course to be eligible. Yeah,
Over under how many actual tests that Brandon Ingram took on the Duke campus? Over under 1.5.
I'm going over. You should have said it at 3. 3 would have been tough.
Yeah, yeah. I don't know.
Let's talk about him a little bit as a player because he's off of a horrendous playoff run. I still think he could help the Warriors. I think, all right, positives on the Ingram thing. And I hate leading with this one because it's the worst thing to lead with. He's 26, where literally I'm just selling upside. I'm just saying because he's young, he can get better. But he is one of the best ball handlers in the league over 6'6", 6'7", which is one of their biggest needs. Like one of the biggest issues with this roster is I don't trust anyone other than Steph and Draymond to dribble the ball. Pods felt like a gift from God because he could dribble with his offhand, Like, you know what I'm saying? Like they really need a guy who can quote unquote get his own when things break down. I know Steve doesn't like that, but like it is nice to have someone who can get to a shot if fucking 5 back screens don't work, right? And then secondarily, he could shoot the ball. He's a weird guy where he doesn't want to shoot the 3 as much as the mid-range shot, but he's proven over the course of like 8 years he can shoot from everywhere if you can get him going. Let me put it this way. I'm not sure Kuminga can shoot. I know Ingram can shoot. Now, will Ingram shoot? Might be a more frustrating question, but like I've seen enough to know that like if he wants to, he can shoot an a corner 3, a catch and shoot, that sort of stuff.
Do you think the Warriors, if you were Mike Dunleavy and you had his brain and you knew what he cared about and you knew what Joe Lacob cared about and Kirk and Kent care about, do you think the Warriors would rather have Brandon Ingram or PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford?
Ooh. It depends. Is your goal to maximize around Steph or is your goal to maximize around Kuminga?
I don't know what their goal is right now. Whatever their goal is right now.
Because if my goal is to put the best team around Steph Curry, I'm getting Ingram because he does what no one on this roster can, which is create their own shot. And like they need someone who can get a shot off. They just do. But if you think Kuminga's that guy, if you think Kuminga is the number 2 option, the guy who can get there, and maybe it doesn't happen. Maybe it isn't happening in January, but it's going to happen in December or next January. Then I'd rather have PJ Washington and Gafford because those dudes know who they are as role players. Does that make sense? Does that make sense? It's like a question of do you want to add a quote unquote star to recalibrate your team, or do you want to just add better role players?
But I think getting the floor and certainty of Gafford and Washington is, I would say, more valuable than the guesswork of Ingram. I would say if Steph was maybe
I'm
younger.
definitely talking up the idea of Ingram.
Yeah, that's why I asked the question.
Mhm.
I actually don't know which one it would be. I'd probably pick PJ Washington and Gafford because I think those guys are better. They're just better. I would say like they might just be better playoff players because it's not like look, man, like PJ Washington and Daniel Gafford aren't never gonna make teams better as second options. But I just watched Brandon Ingram against OKC, and I'm like, is he gonna make a team better? And so I'm kind of sitting here. I'm kind of like, man, I might just rather have the two high level role players versus the guy that I feel like they're gonna have to pigeonhole Ingram into a role player. Like it's
Well, he's not a role player. He's not a role player.
I think
I
he
agree.
is. That's the problem. I think he is.
I don't think he is.
I think he
I
is.
think he's a ball handler. I think he has to be someone who's featured in your offense. I don't think he needs to be the main scorer.
What are the chances
Right.
he's better than 22 Wiggins? Because that's a role player.
I'm asking you right now. Because the last time Ingram was in the playoffs was 2 years ago too.
Yeah.
Which weirdly is the last time Wiggins. Anyway, what do you think he averaged that series? They
I know
didn't have Zion.
I know he had a good series. 26?
27. 27, 6 and 6.
Whew.
48%, 41 from 3, 80+% from the free throw line, a bunch of free throws. Now, I'm not saying he's going to repeat that, but I know Wiggins can't do that. And I hear what you're saying because I also know Ingram can't do what Wiggins did in the playoffs in 20. Like he can't be an off-ball guy who's going to get 10 rebounds and lock the other team's best player up. That's not who he is. But it's not his game.
27, right? So I'm with you. I understand that part.
It's I think it's an interesting question. It's like, do you want the certainty of dogs who are gonna defend and rebound, but will never get 40? Never like
Combined.
It's my night, get out of my way, that sort of thing, right? They're not gonna, Ball Don't Stop is not gonna get on a video the next morning talking about what they did. Or do you want the guy who's a little mercurial, but he's done it. He's got it in him.
I think the Warriors would rather have Ingram. Like, I actually think 10 out of 10 they'd rather have Ingram, and they've proven it to us by literally not caring about someone like Daniel Gafford when large sections of Warriors Twitter and the Light Years Twitter have asked them to do it, and I think they've shown us that they do not care. I also think Steph and Draymond feel that way too. I think Steph and Draymond are like, man, like I don't really care for Daniel Gafford.
Do you think that feelings change though? Do you think that because
it's true.
46 wins, embarrassed in the play-in. You heard Steph when they lost. I've never felt like Steph's been embarrassed more than I watched him where he goes, I just want to win. And you can see on his face, he was just pissed. Like, literally just like, his face to me read, I'll fucking set back screens for 48 minutes if it wins.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not signing up for another season like this.
I think actually that's a great point. I think that's, and part of it's not all on those guys. Like it is, part of it is on Steph and Draymond. It's like they'd like to play with certain guys, right? And so they're probably sitting there like, we don't need the big, like we've got Looney, right? Because that's their guy. And then you're kind of
what we do works. We've done it for a decade, yeah.
And now it's not. And so maybe that's what the offseason is about. Like last offseason, 2 off seasons ago, kind of got screwy because of Draymond. Last offseason, they doubled down on like our identity that failed. So this offseason, it's, I don't know, are they too late? Kind of going with the route of kind of other teams and trying to get better. I don't know. Are they too late? But maybe they go down that route. Maybe that's
well. I'll tell you.
Although an Ingram trade makes a lot of sense. It just does. Just does.
I'll tell you what they're not doing. They're not getting Alexander Sarr.
Yeah.
Again, Sarr.
Thank God. Thank the fucking
God. We're gonna end it there.
All right.
I'm a big draft guy. I love the draft, but for the Warriors, given what we've seen the last 4 years, I did not need to be fucking lying to you about how I believed that it could work. All right. We'll see all you guys in a couple days. Appreciate everyone. Make sure to hit subscribe on YouTube. Make sure to follow us on Playback. Good deal.